There's opportunities to sort of grow your career through by doing this, by being out there and just taking on those roles that sort of some people might not want to do, but by doing that, you're showing you like how much of a team player you are, and then they might recognize you for future enthusiasm. And it's it might be a very simple thing, but that's just a massive thing if you can communicate through your body language and just your tone of voice how much you love what you're doing. I think that was a very big thing.
G'day guys, coming up on the show today is Adrian Cordi. Adrian is a game development officer for the AFL in New South Wales. If you are looking for a way to break into the sports industry, this job is one of the best positions going around to help you get a foot in. Game dev roles exist in all the major sporting bodies and receive the most funding because your job is to get more people playing sport. And when more people play sport, the world is a better place. Hence, a lot of money gets thrown at these jobs. So, Adrian details exactly how he landed this particular role, what he did to be successful in his group interview, what exactly is involved, and everything you need to start working in this space. Grab a pen because this just might be the interview that helps you get your big break.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered 2.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Grad Podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry, brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. If it's your first time listening to the show, my name is Ruben Williams. I'm an ex-Cricket Australia employee who started Sports Grad to help others get their dream job in sport, and now it's become my own dream job as well. If we're not already, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn or Instagram. Feel free to reach out to me there and ask me a question about jobs in sport. Now, if this is your first time on this show, I find out exactly what people do in their roles in the sports industry, how they got in, what the day-to-day looks like, a few different tactics that they applied to get the job, the interview process, etc., all those different things, so that you can find your place in the sports industry very, very quickly. Basically, back in the day when I was trying to find out what do I want to do with my career, I went out and networked with a whole lot of people to get a whole bunch of information to distill it down into one job they wanted to do. Well, this podcast kind of saves you the time reaching out to everybody, which is why we get a lot of listeners who kind of just go through and binge absolutely every episode, because you can find out your career direction very, very quickly. Now, a bit of an update from HQ. For those who've kind of been following the Sports Grad journey and my journey in terms of rebuilding Sports Grad, things are flying at the moment. Things are going really, really good. We are just about at a steady state because the last couple of months I've been deep in reconstructing the membership to be more useful than ever, which meant that, September was a heavy sort of research phase. I was talking to a lot of members every single week. Then once the research was done, we went into build. So back in September, start of October, I was like, all right, let's put this thing together and make it happen. And then mid-October, I thought, let's launch it. Can't wait anymore. Just kind of get it out there, scrappy. Even if I'm a bit embarrassed by some of the features at the moment, let's just get it out there. We'll keep building the plane as we're flying it. And so now we're at the end of November and it's just about all put together. We've got some amazing features that have been added in there. There's events happening regularly every single week with some awesome people. Jobs are going through there every single day as well. The team is working well. So things are just about humming again. So now we're at the point where we're just looking to grow it again. Keen to get out to some universities as well and talk to them about getting their students to become members as well, so that, students don't have to fork out for it. The university should be, in my opinion. So starting to get to the point where, all right, we can get out there and really spread the word hard because the Sports Grad membership is just about complete again. So now, speaking of the Sports Grad community, we love giving a shout out to those members who've been having success. And I've got 3 people to call out today. The first shout out goes to Rishabh Mahajan, who is up in Queensland, or has just actually moved to Queensland because he has got a brand new job as a competition officer for Football Queensland, which is going to be absolutely massive. I know football will be taking off up there after they had the Matildas win that epic penalty shootout at the FIFA Women's World Cup last year, which is going to be a catalyst for growth of women's football up there. So huge job for Rishabh. Annika Bussell has just got a brand new job as a marketing business partner at the Australian Sports Foundation. They do some amazing work. So well done to you, Annika. That's a great, great job. And one of our favourites, Madison Nutting, has just got a promotion In her job at the Brisbane Lions, she is now a corporate sales executive. Madison was in the community last week doing an industry intro session talking all about memberships, which is one of the other extremely popular jobs that you can use to break into the sports industry, which we might release that on the podcast in a few weeks' time as well. So well done to you guys. It's absolutely fantastic to hear about your success. Now, another thing to mention as well is we have got a brand new feature in the community, which is helping a lot of people get more of what they want. And it's called the concierge, which basically acts like your own personal recruiter. So the purpose of the concierge is to find that job that you've been looking for and bring it to you, and to find that connection that you can't seem to get a hold of and bring it to you. So the concierge is essentially the SportsGrad team. And when you log into the SportsGrad platform, you'll see a little thing on the right-hand side that says the concierge, make a request. If you go in there, you can submit a request to say, hey, SportsGrad, I'm looking for this particular job. Can you find it for me? Or, hey, SportsGrad, I'm trying to connect with a particular type of person. Can you bring them into the community? Or, hey, SportsGrad, I would love it if you could fix this about the membership. Can you make it happen? And that's our way of listening to you and giving you more of what you want so that you can grow your career, so you can break into the sports industry faster than ever before. There's nothing else out there like it. We're going to do all the heavy lifting for you. So make use of the concierge if you want SportsGrad to really work for you. Now, as always, plenty of events coming up. Speed networking is coming up. Hayley Gorman industry intros is coming up. She's at Golf Australia. I mentioned Madison Nutting from the Brisbane Lions. She was just the other week. We got Mal, general manager at the Western United Football Club, coming up as well, and then some Cricket Australia guests coming up over the summer too. So plenty to look out for. Make sure you head to the SportsGrad platform to check the events calendar to see what's coming up. And also meetups are on too. So if you're in Brisbane, we will be there tomorrow night on Tuesday. And if you are, Sydney tomorrow night. If you're in Brisbane, we'll be there on Thursday night. And then Wednesday next week, we will be in Melbourne for the big event there. So make sure you grab a ticket. They're always great fun. You always meet lots of different people. So get around that if you haven't already. Last thing to mention is to stay up to date with everything, make sure you are receiving the SportsGrad newsletter, which is called Shortcuts by SportsGrad, where essentially every single Monday morning, I'll be sending you all the shortcuts to everything you need to grow your career, whether it's job opportunities, networking events, resources, templates, how-to guides, all those different things. Everything you need to shortcut your career is going to be one consolidated place. And when you get a hold of it, you'll quickly see how valuable it is. And when you are going for a job in a fiercely competitive industry like sport, when you get this sort of information, best to keep it to yourself. So hold on to the SportsGrad Shortcuts newsletter. Don't tell anyone about it and use it to get ahead. Now, let's get into the interview. Enjoy this chat with Adrian Cordi from the AFL. Have you got your eye on a future in sport? If you're ready to transform the industry, then perhaps get ready to study with Deakin and prepare yourself to redefine what it means to work in sport. That's what I did at least. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked #1 in the world. Pretty cool, hey? So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise science, sport coaching, sport development, sport management, nutrition sciences, physical education, and more. You can do it all at Deakin. Apply now and study at Deakin University. Adrian, welcome to SportsGrad, mate.
Thanks, Ruben. Thanks, everyone, for coming. It's an honour to be invited. Thank you.
Adrian, for those who don't know you too well, you've got a bit of a different background before entering into sport. Do you want to tell people what you were doing overseas before you arrived back home in Australia to do the work you're doing now?
Yeah, so I was working as an English as a second language teacher in Japan. I went over there on a kind of thinking of a temporary basis, a year, come back, but it ended up being 7.5, 8 years. So yeah, I was over there doing that. And then I came back of May this year.
Love it, mate. Well, you are living proof that there are a million ways to enter into the sports industry, and that there is never a bad time in your career to come back into the sports industry too. And to be honest, I think a lot of employers would appreciate your rounded knowledge and understanding of the world and what you would bring to an organization too. So I love your background, and I'm keen to dive more into your journey in just a sec. But we start all of these sessions with some quick fire questions. So first one for you, what inspired you to work in the sports industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, I had a roundabout way of entering into the sports industry. So I can't really point to anything specific that sort of led me there. But I will say, a lot of us, sports was a big part of my childhood. And I think the opportunity to sort of kind of relive those carefree days and sort of build a career doing that, where, doing something where, you experience the highs and lows and all the emotions that accompany sport. Just, I felt like it was the best thing, sort of like to sort of like live a life that's work, but also fun. So, yeah.
Love it, mate. And your first ever sports related job?
Yeah, I was a football coach for a girls' high school team. That was just a casual role, but we ended up going that first season undefeated. So it sort of caught the coaching bug from that, I think.
And what did you study after high school?
So I did a business degree at UTS, but after about 2 years, I decided this isn't for me. All my mates were taking on accounting internships and things, and I was hearing stories about their days, their lives, and I was like, I don't know if this suits me. So I ended up switching over and doing a communications degree. I majored in writing and cultural studies. Yeah.
Nice. Very good, mate. And can you recall one interview question that you were asked in getting this job?
I'm sure I'll touch on this a bit after. I can't really answer this because it was a very different type of interview that we had. It was a group practical interview. So it wasn't really more about just answering questions. It was more about just showing things that we could do. So I'm sure I'll touch on that a bit after.
Okay, no worries. We'll circle back to that. And one book or podcast recommendation that has helped you at work?
Yeah. So there's a book called How Starbucks Saved My Life by Michael Gates Gill. Actually, I stumbled across this book just as I had decided to leave Japan and I was coming to Australia, and just wanted something to read on the plane, and just stumbled into the bookshop. In Japan, obviously, the English section isn't so big. So this book just like stood out to me, and I was just like, I got to read it. It was a quick read, but it was like, it kind of mirrored what I was sort of going through. So for those who don't know, just a small, quick summary. Michael Gates Gill's true story about he rose in as a high flying exec in Madison Avenue in advertising, sort of lost his job, got diagnosed with cancer, got divorced, and ended up getting a job at Starbucks. Sort of like learning about how, what was important in his life, the value of hard work, and sort of just respecting others and just what it means to have success in your life. So for someone who was like, obviously English teaching is not that high, but it was sort of like going from that and then going sort of feeling like a little bit going backwards. It sort of resonated with me in a strong way.
Sounds very interesting. I might have to check that one out. And if you could swap roles with anybody for just one day, whose role would you like to try out?
I'd love to be a manager or a head coach at an AFL or even a football team. Just love to experience what they experience on match days. And just another one, if I can, I'd love to be a GM on NFL draft day. I think that would be really, really interesting, really fun, because everyone's a winner on draft day, so you can't lose then.
Love it, mate. Well, I reckon Angus Yeats gave a very similar answer to what job would you like to try for a day. So you guys might have fun chatting over that next time you see each other. But tell us about the job that you're doing at the moment. What is your job title, and what do you do in a nutshell?
Yes, I'm a game development officer. So I work for New South Wales ACT AFL. I kind of liken the role to being like a foot soldier or an infantry in an army, because you're sort of out on the front lines, sort of getting dirty in amongst it. And it sort of encompasses a whole range of different roles. But the main and primary role is sort of going out to schools and communities and delivering programs and sessions for kind of new participants or, younger age children who might be interested in eventually, going over and joining an AFL club and playing, or just sort of just getting them used to the game, getting involved with the Swans or just their local clubs. So yeah, we deliver, try to deliver engaging sessions that they enjoy and then develop a love for the game. But the role also has many other things that we also do. So we are the main people that do the halftime Auskick. So at the professional games at halftime, all those kids get on the field and play. We sort of help run and organize that, and we get on the field with them, sometimes holding up the advertising signs, or might be umpiring the game sometimes, or just helping make sure everything's going smoothly. So we do that. We go to local gala days or club events or community events and just promote AFL. We get in, we umpire gala days for kids, PWSA competitions, AFL 9s, just a whole host of things in terms of that. And we also do, so obviously, AFL season, when the AFL season is happening, we also do the ground management sometimes. So we can there's opportunities for getting involved in sort of running the sessions on Saturdays and Sundays, just being there for all day, making sure that the umpires, the coordinators, the teams are being taken care of. So whole host of things that we do.
Very good. Sounds like a range of things that you get involved in. Just to go back to one of the fundamental elements, are you working for the AFL itself, or is AFL New South Wales ACT like a separate entity?
It's mostly AFL itself, but obviously in my understanding how it works is that obviously there's different people that sort of under branches, and so we are assigned to a sort of a region. And we're not always stuck in that region, but we're mainly assigned to sort of doing our jobs in those regions. So for those who know Sydney, I'm based in the North Shore, but sometimes the Northern Beaches area. So we sort of have the participation coordinators that we work under, and they might be hired by New South Wales, ACT, AFL. So I'm under the branch of AFL Marvel Stadium. That's sort of the big name that we work under, but we address different sort of people in that role.
Gotcha. So are there just in terms of how the game development side of the AFL is structured, it sounds like there are people like yourself who are out there in the field around the entire country, and I'm guessing you might report to an area manager, and they report into AFL headquarters. So the whole thing kind of cascades down from the headquarters in Melbourne. Is that right?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I'm mostly with the people in New South Wales ACT, so I don't really have much to do with AFL brand as a whole. But we have done development days out at Giants training HQ and things like that, where we get together. And I've only been in the role 5-6 months now, so I haven't experienced everything that we may do in the future, opportunities that may come up. But mostly I just keep in close contact with my we call them participation coordinators, who are sort of assigned to the areas, and they go out and sort of get the schools that we sort of go out to, and they establish the connections, and then which we go in ahead and build on and make sure that we keep going. Yeah.
And do you know how many people are in your role around the entire country working to grow the game of AFL as development officers?
I don't know a number for the whole country, but I know that New South Wales ACT is quite large. And we did development day. We had split up into 2 days. So there was sort of more the Western Sydney, South Sydney areas, and then more the other side. And that was, over 100 or nearly 150 sort of people doing that role.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite involved. There AFL's out there everywhere. The small country town, they'll be out there, or the big city. There's always things going on all year round. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So it sounds like, this is a huge area of employment for the AFL in terms of all the different functions that they have to deliver, whether it's, commercial, marketing, operations, game development. The headcount in game development sounds like it's huge.
Yeah, it's massive. And I think, some people, I think a lot of the people that are in this role are sort of fresh out of high school, or they're doing their university studies. And it's a very flexible role, so it sort of allows them to do that, and also just get out there and have that experience as well. And then sort of there's and then we were told when we joined that obviously there's opportunities to sort of grow your career through by doing this, by being out there and just taking on those roles that sort of some people might not want to do, but by doing that, you're showing you like how much of a team player you are, and then they might recognize you for future sort of positions out there. Yeah.
So it's like a chance to get your foot in the door of the AFL and then show, the decision makers what kind of person you are, what you can do, and basically get a chance to be recommended for future roles as opposed to coming into the AFL without them knowing who you are at all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like even in that sort of the game development role in itself, there's people that get asked to sort of take on more leadership responsibilities, and then obviously how well you do, you get seen, and people always recognize your hard work. So they're always out there looking for people, and they're always coming to us when there's a new position available to sort of, if it suits you, they'll reach out and let you know, and you can apply, get your foot in the door first, pretty much. Yeah.
Gotcha. And walk us through maybe, because you mentioned maybe 4 or 5 different things that your role includes or could look like. Could you pick one of them and walk us through what a day in the life of your job would look like?
Yeah. So I'd say mostly for day to day during the week. Obviously, as I said, the game development part of just going out to schools is a big one. So as part of that, we do these things called promos. So you get assigned to a school. You go out there with your kit. If it's a big school, you might have a few others with you, and then you just run sessions throughout pretty much the whole school day. So they'll send in the kindies, year ones in groups, and then the year twos, and you take that throughout the day. Sort of just doing 1 hour to an hour and a half sessions with them, running them through some just fun games that they would be like, tell their mum what they did and their dad, and then their mum and dad would be like, okay, we should sign you up to the 4-week program that we offered them to do in a few weeks' time. So then there's doing that, and then you might do that in the morning until the afternoon, and then if you want to, there's another school will have their program might have already started. You go out to that school and you go and do that program. So you get out there where it might be a field, or it might be at the school itself, set up sort of a range of games, and then you get sort of your group of kids, and you just interact with them through AFL. And it's very, very active role. You're out in the sun a lot. I've gotten very, very tanned by doing it, but you're always moving, you're always having fun. Kids are just kids just want to play, and so it's a really very involved role in that. So in terms of that, that's just that's sort of the main responsibility during the week. And then also maybe in the evenings. So if you're going to work a whole day, in the evenings they might have an AFL 9s competition out at in the local schools. So there was one in Balgala or Narrabeen, and then you go out from 5:45, 6 o'clock out to 9:30, and you're just there umpiring AFL 9s games. So that's pretty much it's a very, very full day. So obviously depending on the schedule, you might, if you want to take on that work, that's what the role is. You're there from the morning all the way to 9:30 at night, doing those things. Yeah.
Yep. You mentioned that after these sessions, you're talking to the parents to tell them about the 4-week program that you can sign them up to. Knowing a bit about, how the AFL creates fans for life and how it kind of starts when they are a child. And if you put a ball in their hands and then they, play it around with their friends and they eventually join a club, then they stay with that club for 10 years and they're likely to be an AFL fan. Then they, they spend money on merchandise, and then they, become an SCG or MCC member or club member. And then they're a footy fan for life. Like the lifetime value of a AFL fan is huge, but it starts with when they are a kid, and and with people like you who are trying to influence them to pick up an AFL ball rather than a soccer ball or a rugby ball. With all that in mind and the potential impact on the growth of the game, what sort of KPIs or metrics get handed down to you? Like when you go out to a school, are you told make sure that you get at least 10 kids signed up to our 4-week program? Is that involved in the job at all?
Yeah, so and a lot of they do the promos. We might be told last season or whatever, last time they did it, this was the number that we had. So this is kind of like the target we want to get to. And a lot of it, obviously we're very involved. So the program that the sessions that we run are going to be sort of, dictating how, if the kids are enjoying it, of course, and they're going to want to continue and do it after schools. So we always want to, use a check after, who had fun today, who's going to tell their mum and dad about it and let them know. We entice the kids we give them an AFL pack, a Swans pack. In our area, it's a Swans pack. So in there's maybe tickets to games, there's an AFL ball, there's just goodies that kids can take away from it. So obviously we get told sort of a number, but it's not really, we're not really said like, you've got to make sure you hit this number. But just sort of like just gauging how the session went in itself and seeing what worked and what didn't. And then for next time, we might have to adjust it to make it more accessible for everyone. But then obviously after the 4-week program is completed, after we do it, we might check in and say, so who's going to go sign up for their local AFL club now? And especially the participation coordinator who will come down, who'll just chat with the parents while we're running the session sometimes, find out if they're playing AFL, if they're interested in playing AFL, are they going to go to games or are they members and things like that. That's sort of what we register by just gauging that. So yeah, that's mostly it.
Amazing, mate. Well, it's I know like the AFL is such a strong sport at the moment, and it's largely due to like the work that was done at a grassroots level, particularly like whoever invented Auskick, absolute genius, because like the impact of that, 20, 30, 40, I don't know how long it's been around for now, definitely at least like 25 years, must be extremely proud of themselves because the people who are like my age, in their 30s now, who have grown up with that, are diehard footy fans who, grew up with that program getting you seriously invested. In terms of like how you got your job, like when you're applying for this sort of role, what was important for you to be successful? What did they look out for?
Yeah, so I think obviously being able to sort of lead and communicate, in front of large groups of especially kids. So obviously being a very engaging presence. So it's sort of what I had that teaching experience in Japan that really, really helped me in terms of just being very comfortable in front of a large group of kids, being able to sort of identify and be able to quickly identify, what sort of kid and how can I get sort of reach them and sort of make them, get the most out of what we're doing. So it was sort of being able to sort of have that experience, that teaching background sort of really, really helped me. So I think it was just being very confident, being able to just be sort of very engaging, positive presence so that obviously the kids will catch on to that and then they'll get more out of it. So it was really just, enthusiasm, and it's it might be a very simple thing, but that's just a massive thing. If you can communicate through your body language and just your tone of voice how much you love what you're doing, the kids are going to catch on and just going to enjoy it, getting the most out of it. So yeah, I think that was a very big thing.
Yep. And in the interview or selection process, I think you mentioned that it was through a group interview. How do they test if you had the ability to do that?
Yeah. So yeah, I remember when I went to it, there was about 20 or 30 other people interviewing. So what happened was they got us together. They did a quick icebreaker, and I remember they asked a question about what team you support, but what team, if you couldn't support that team, what's another team that you would support and the reason why. And I remember sort of like thinking, I got to sort of give a sort of interesting answer. So I just talked about how even grew up in Sydney. My dad was a huge Hawthorn supporter. So, I'd love to play for them because my dad supports them. So I just sort of like went out and sort of showed a bit of, my background in that sort of by answering that question. But then they went on to sort of, they just did a quick demo of what sort of like how the example of what a session might look like. We showed them, what they different sort of activities. And then they broke us off into groups of 3 or 4. And they said, all right, you now come up with a quick, 10-minute session to run for everyone. And, each group was given, you might be focus on kicking the AFL ball. You guys focus on hand passing. And I remember we were focused on, they gave us the warm up. So it was just me and two others. And I knew it was a practical role. So I sort of had some ideas and before I went in there, but I wasn't expecting them to okay, you have to do this specific thing. So just very quickly on the fly, we had to sort of come up with a way for all three of us to sort of lead and show a quick warm up that would be very engaging with AFL. So obviously we were the first ones because the warm up's the first thing. And so I had to quickly show what I could do without seeing how others had done it and being able to. So we were pretty much setting the standard. And I remember in that role, I had my own idea, but obviously with two other people, they also had their own ideas. So I had to be very adaptable to sort of what the group wanted to do. But I remember thinking I just have to sort of show my bit of my style, a bit of myself through it. So, while a lot of people just, focusing on, so they were more like coaching as a coach. I was more like making it fun. And even like with the adults, you just making it a bit silly. And I think that really, sort of sealed that I, was able to engage with kids.
Yep. So they basically got you to run a trial session to see if you could actually do what you're going to go out and do. So if you could just walk through the components of that session, like you had the warm up, then what did the next pair have to do? Yeah.
So the next one had to do just like a kicking exercise. Next one had to do like a hand passing, and then another one was like a shooting, like a scoring AFL. So that was pretty much like the four different groups. Obviously the warm up, you didn't really have to use like AFL skills in particular, but I tried to obviously, put an AFL ball involved to sort of make it a bit more specific or tied into what we're doing. Because as I said, I kind of had my own ideas before going in because I was sort of prepared for that practical aspect. But
So, so obviously for anybody who's going out there applying for these sort of roles in the future, if you're listening to this, you now know what to prepare for. And you can clearly see that, if you've grown up playing any sort of sport where you've actually been the participant in that situation and you've had to do a warm up or you've been led through drills, then you've actually, can pick up some of that stuff that you've been taught yourself to go and deliver it in this, unique kind of interview. Firstly, I'm very happy to hear that your dad is a Hawthorn supporter. He's raised you very well. That's good to hear. Second point I wanted to share was I played a couple of seasons down at the Lawn Football Club, and one of the locals down in Lawn is AFL commentator Brian Taylor, and he also played 200 plus games, full forward, but he says that if he didn't go into commentating, he would have gone into coaching. And so during one of the seasons that I was playing down here, Brian came down as like a guest coach. And so we had like a 2-hour session with BT, and it was the most engaging 2 hours of football I've ever experienced in my life. And you could really tell the difference between someone who understood coaching and understood keeping people engaged and understood the learning process of skill development compared to people who are all right, let's just go to the next drill and the next drill. And, Brian made sure that, the groups were short. So you always were doing things. You weren't waiting around forever. And, it was mixing up. So there was always a lot of variety. And so I walked away from that, thinking gosh, can BT come back and take, training every single week? That would be fantastic. But that was the impact that it had on me. He made me want to play football again the next week and the next week. And that's what the impact that, someone in your role can have on a kid who's just picked up a ball for the first time, which, obviously, as we touched on before, can go on to a long involvement with football for a long, long time. Just back to the process of landing your job. How did you find out that you were successful? Was there any other different things you had to go through, or was it just okay, Adrian can run a warm up, let's give him a job?
Yeah, so actually I remember it was pretty much we did the interview in the morning, and then that afternoon they just emailed back saying, yeah, we'd like to offer you the position. So I don't know if there was anything in particular that they made me stand out, but I would say there was one moment. So remember we finished up, and they obviously at the end they're like, thank you for coming. We're going to let you know if you want to stick around, if you want to ask any questions for us, if you have any questions for us after that, just let us know. And I remember everyone else just left, and I was staying there thinking, oh, okay. I mean, I was expecting, people you might, want to get to know them and, ask them something. So I thought this is my opportunity to sort of share a little bit of who I was and just ask them more about the role, I guess, because we didn't really have much, obviously they were showing us that, and we had our opportunity to do our thing, but we didn't really talk for a long, long time about the role itself. So I just spent like 10 minutes just talking to them, just sharing my story, and then just like asking them about the role and is this are we allowed to do this? Is this how we do this? Is this how we do this? So I remember they just them knowing my name at the end. I wouldn't say I was like exactly like overconfident, but I felt like I'd done as much as I could to get that role. Yeah.
Perhaps the other people weren't sports grad members, so they didn't know that this is actually a very normal thing and required thing to do.
Yeah, as I said, I think a lot of them are younger. I think the average age would just be like they're in their maybe just started university or something. So I did also feel like a bit concerned. Obviously, I know I'm a bit older than them, but also then I thought I'm going to use that to my advantage to show that I have that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were returning from Japan to Australia, that was when you became a sports grad member. Why did you join sports grad?
Yeah, so it's a funny thing. I came back in May this year, and then obviously I just figured I had to sort of do something that was related to my degree because that's the expected thing, and I was just following the traditional job search engine of applying through that, applying for advertising, marketing, copywriting jobs, and obviously not really hearing back, and just. I didn't, obviously it was only looking back, it's only a month and a half, but it felt like a long, long time. And it felt like very disheartening that I knew it was going to be very difficult. But then I obviously, at the same time, I was also feeling a little bit relieved that I wasn't getting these roles because I was like, I mean, was I even sure that this is what I really, really wanted to do? I wouldn't know until I'm in it, and then I might be stuck doing it. So, it's just a very, very chance occurrence. I was scrolling YouTube and SportsGrad, the podcast came up with, I think it was Jacob Gaynor. And I just clicked on it. And then I just went through, read the description, listened to a bit of it, just went, followed the link, saw that there was an info seminar coming up. And I figured, a job in sport. I mean, I knew from what my dad had told me, obviously you just can't apply through jobs in sport by just going on Seek or Indeed or whatever. You got to actually be involved in the community. You got to go out there. And I thought this is the chance to do that. If it doesn't work, I mean, at least I did it, and at least I went through, committed to doing it. And yeah, I joined up pretty much, soon as possible.
And how has it helped, and what ways have you made use of it?
Yeah, so obviously after joining SportsGrad, I sort of was committed to that. I've got to try and get a job in sports. So I sort of stopped applying for those other jobs and was committed to just like being part of the process. And so I obviously interacted through Discord, built my LinkedIn connections. I had no one really before, and I was just slowly. I saw that people in SportsGrad, or saw that people were in New South Wales who were in SportsGrad, because through the Discord you can sort of go through the announcements page, the announcements link. You can just type in a search for New South Wales, and I just pretty much added all the people that were in my area and sort of reached out through there. And then I saw there was actually one member who I'm sure, I know but is Michael Long. So I saw that he was working at Sydney Swans at the time, and obviously the job at AFL sounded amazing, or the Swans sounded amazing. So I just reached out to him through LinkedIn, and he was very gracious with his time to sort of just, to talk to me about SportsGrad and how it helped him, and then sort of about the role and how he did it. And then he just said, just keep going, just commit yourself to it. So I did that. I utilized the resources that you provided with the resume template and how to write a cover letter. I used that to get, I copied exactly that to use to get my role at AFL. And then just obviously went up to the coffee meetups, attended things like these, the networking sessions. I just thought like, I just got to go all in as much as I can. I'm not working, so I've just got to do this. And as I said, it's just showing that you're willing to do it. It will net results eventually.
Amazing. And where did you come across the AFL role?
That was through SportsGrad, through the job advertisements through SportsGrad. So obviously, if I had, if I'd gone there for a website, I might have found that role. But who knows if I ever would have done that if I didn't join SportsGrad. To be honest, I think SportsGrad helped me just narrow my focus and sort of just commit to doing something that I knew that I would find fulfilling and enjoy. And just SportsGrad provided that avenue for me. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Amazing, mate. Well, really cool to hear how you use it, because we have a lot of people who sign up and not sure what to do or how best to make use of all the resources available. So to hear exactly what you did and to know that it's led to the job you got now at the AFL is outstanding and super useful for other members to know that, like, oh, maybe I'm not using the membership to the full ability that I can. So that is awesome to hear. Hey guys, I hope you've been enjoying the sound of this job. If you want to listen to the full interview with Adrian and hear all of his practical answers to the questions that members are asking him, make sure you become a SportsGrad Learn member. When you do so, you'll get access to not only this interview, but you also get access to the SportsGrad library, which is kind of like Netflix for sport. Inside, you get access to over 70 hours of premium content with hundreds of different examples of what people do and how they got into their job. And if you want to go one step further and you want to join the sessions where members get to chat to people like Adrian, become a Connect member and you can join these sessions, create connections with our guests that are coming in there and start to grow your career even more. It's only $29 a month to get started and you get access to a whole lot of information that can rapidly accelerate your career. Head to sportsgrad.com.au to get started. Hey, last thing before you go. Everyone knows the sports industry is super competitive, so you might want to keep this to yourself. But every Monday, I send out an email called Shortcuts by SportsGrad. It takes 5 minutes to read and it gives you everything you need to get an edge over other job hunters on a silver platter. Here you'll find exclusive job opportunities, networking events, and premium resources to get ahead. Again, it takes less than 5 minutes to read and it's designed to help you get ahead and stay ahead. So if you want to receive the next one in your inbox, head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter. But as I mentioned, competition for jobs in sport is red hot, so perhaps keep this to yourself.